Good morning. Thank you for attending the Federal Work-Study Student Information webinar. My name is Rebecca Araujo, Financial Aid Counselor and Federal Work-Study Coordinator. Joining us today is Angie Carrillo Humphreys, Counselor with the Career Development Center, and Ileana Campos with Human Resources Payroll Office. If you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A and we will get to them as soon as we can. Today's agenda will be going over what is federal work study, the eligibility and requirements for federal work study, the time frame and how to get started, and Ileana with Human Resources Payroll will go over rights and responsibilities as well as how to get paid. And then Angie Carrillo with the Career Development Center will go over the benefits of federal work study, where to find federal work study jobs, and resources for resume assistance. And then I'll go over resources for federal work study, and then we'll get into your questions. All right, so what is federal work study? Federal work study is a form of financial aid awarded to those who demonstrate financial need. So those of you that are here today have demonstrated financial need and are awarded federal work study. You may not be awarded every single year, so I'm going to show you how to position yourself well so that you could be considered for federal work study in the subsequent years. Students earn income in a federal work study job up to the award amount that's on your financial aid offer. The earnings that you make under the federal work study program are not counted in the FAFSA calculation when you fill out your financial aid application. The purpose to gain work experience and earn funds to pay for educational expenses under this program. So it's a really great program. If you have it, you should really look into using it. All right, so how can I be considered for federal work study? So as I mentioned, not all students are considered for federal work study, and just because you have it this year doesn't mean that you'll be offered it in the subsequent years. So in order to position yourself well, you want to make sure that you're filling out your FAFSA between October 1st and March 2nd, no later. March 2nd is a priority filing deadline date. It is East Coast time, so make sure you're not waiting until the last minute. I have seen students who've missed the March 2nd date because they filled out their FAFSA like at midnight on March 2nd. So make sure that October 1, which is just in a couple of months, you'll be able to fill out your 23-24 FAFSA, and it does require the income and income taxes from 2 years ago. So you should already have that income data. You would have had to have earned at least 1 hour of federal work study wages in the previous academic year. So in order to be considered next academic year, which would be the 23-24 academic year, you'll need to earn at least an hour of it this academic year. You also need to make sure that you're following federal work study eligibility requirements, and I'll be going over what that is in detail in the upcoming slides. You must also meet satisfactory academic progress. For those of you that are not familiar with this policy, it is an academic policy, but financial aid is required by the Department of Education to use it in order to determine aid eligibility. And I will show you in detail what that policy entails and how you can monitor your own progress. And lastly, you need to make sure you're accepting your federal work study offer on your student portal. By accepting it, it doesn't mean you're committing to it and saying that you have a job. It basically is saying that you are interested in using this federal aid program. If you do secure a job and you haven't accepted it, we will reach out to you and ask you to go onto your student portal to accept it. You would not be able to start working under the program until you do that step. All right, so I wanted to show you the steps to accept your award, since that is one of the important steps you need to do. Now, your screen on your student portal isn't going to look exactly like this, but it is very similar. It has a list of aid programs that you're offered. So you want to identify federal work study. It will have the amount that you're offered. So this is the amount that you could work up to. There are going to be boxes next to the aid programs, and you'll check the ones that you're interested in. So for federal work study, you're going to check for federal work study. Make sure that you're in the 2023 year. There is a two-step process to submit your acceptance. So you're going to click on the submit button, and then it'll take you to another screen that asks if you're sure you want to submit it. You'll click OK. Now I'm going to provide you this PowerPoint because it does have helpful links for you. If you're not sure how to do that or can't find it, you can always call our office, but our website also offers a web page. It has a list of different functionalities and how to go through the steps to complete those that process. So you'll be able to see step by step how to log into your student portal, go into your student center, find the link for the accept decline financial aid, select the 2023 year, and then how to accept your aid. Okay. Now, who's involved in this whole process? So you would be involved, of course. This is a partnership, so you do need to take responsibility on making sure you're meeting eligibility requirements and doing all the necessary things that you need to do in terms of submitting paperwork to complete your onboarding process. The Career Development Center is involved in terms of posting those job announcements. Angie's going to show you step by step how to find federal work-study jobs. And they also offer a wealth of resources on their website in terms of resume assistance, videos on how to go to an interview, how to dress, things like that. CSULB employers are involved as they will be the ones that are looking for you. They're looking for federal work-study students. So they will be your supervisor if you're hired by one of the departments. And Human Resources Payroll is involved in terms of processing your onboarding documents as well as processing your payroll. Our office, Financial Aid, is involved in terms of making sure that we're coordinating all the types of financial aid resources that you have with financial aid and federal work study. Some of you may have additional resources such as veterans benefits or scholarships. So we're coordinating the aid with those programs. Sometimes students will see an adjustment to their federal work study award because they got additional resources. We're also monitoring to make sure you're meeting eligibility requirements each month. And we're also checking to make sure that you're following the academic policy at the end of each fall and spring semesters. So now that you know you have federal work study and let's say you've secured a job, you want to make sure that you're doing all the necessary steps to keep your federal work study position. So as I mentioned, we are monitoring your units every single month, and we're also monitoring your academic progress at the end of fall and spring semesters. So I'm going to go into detail what these eligibility requirements are and where you can find the information. So undergraduate students, credential students, and graduates must maintain a unit load of at least 6 units. So you'll want to make sure that when you're signing up for classes, you're checking the unit load. So it's a total of 6 units. And I want to take a moment to speak to graduate students. Graduate students do have to carry a higher unit load if you're thinking of just being part-time, which is equivalent to 4 units. If you're going to work under the federal work study program, you actually need to be enrolled 3/4 time, which is 6 units. And for credential students, even though you're a post-bac, we still process or look at your financial aid similar, but not exactly the same as undergraduate students. So your unit load is still 6 units and half time. In terms of enrollment, if you're enrolled in or signed up for a waitlist class, that's not considered enrolled to us. You actually have to be enrolled in the class to be considered 6 units. For graduate students, again, I want to mention about the GS 700, which is a thesis course. You are considered matriculated so that you can use the services on campus, but it has no units associated with it. So when you're working on your GS 700, you wouldn't be able to work under the Federal Work Study Program unless you're also, in addition to your GS 700, enrolled in 6 units, which is really heavy. I haven't seen any graduate students doing that. But I wanted to show you, since we're going over this right now, you're going to need reference. So on our website, we do have all the information that we're going over today. And you can see that we publish it pretty well in terms of letting you know that you have to be enrolled in at least 6 units, okay? Now, moving on to good academic standing. Some of you may not be familiar with this policy at all, so I am going to go over it step by step. We do have a web page that has all the details of this policy. So this policy is called Satisfactory Academic Progress. Like I said, it is an academic policy, but we are required by the Department of Ed to use this progress in order to measure students' progress toward their degree requirements and to be eligible for financial aid. So there are 3 standards within this policy, or you can call them rules. The GPA is the one that students are most familiar with. You have to maintain a minimum GPA in order to receive financial aid. Undergraduates must maintain at least a 2.0. Teaching credential, certificate, additional baccalaureate degree must maintain at least a 2.5 GPA, and graduate students pursuing master's or doctorate degree must maintain a 3.0 GPA. The other 2 standards are not very familiar with students, so I'll go over those. Students must make progress toward their degree requirements, and the metric that is used is we're measuring 67% of all attempted units must be completed in order to meet this progress or this standard. So I'll show you how you can monitor that on your student portal. So basically 67% is more than 50%, right? So you have to complete more than half of the classes that you're signing up for. If you're bringing in transferable units, we're also calculating the transferable units. So any university units or community college units, they're all going to be calculated within this metric. The maximum time frame of aid eligibility for degree completion is 150% of published degree length measured in attempted units. So just to kind of unpack this a little bit more, what this metric is looking at the total number of units that you have in progress towards your degree completion. Degree completion, for example, undergraduate students must have 120 units in order to meet degree requirements. The Department of Education is saying, well, let's do 150% of the degree completion. Let's give students that length of time to receive financial aid. So you may not know this, but years ago, this measurement was not in place, and students could change majors and continue to get financial aid basically forever. But once they implemented this policy, we had to find a limit as to where students can continue to receive financial aid. So as I was mentioning, 120 units to meet degree completion, you would multiply that by 150%. That would give you 180 total attempted units that you could have to be able to receive financial aid. Once you meet that 180, we would not be allowed by law to let you have financial aid, not even federal loans. At that point, you would need to pursue loans outside, such as a commercial bank, or pay out of pocket. So those are the 3 standards that we're measuring at the end of fall and spring each semester. Also, if you're enrolled in summer, we need to check it at the end of summer in order to determine your aid eligibility for the fall semester. Now, I want to go over just the spectrum of different statuses that you might fall under academic progress. At the end of the semesters, we send email notifications out to all students to let them know whether or not they're meeting academic progress. So you'll receive the notification after faculty post their grades and we process. Please keep an eye out in your email. If you don't usually check your student email account, make sure that you have it set up to forward it to an email account that you frequently check. And you want to look for the SAP communication. If you're meeting SAP, we'll just let you know that you're meeting SAP. If you're not meeting SAP, we are going to send you communication to let you know that your status is warning. Now, warning doesn't mean that you're getting close to not meeting SAP standards. Warning means that you actually have failed the SAP standards, but we're just letting you know that because you failed it, we're giving you an opportunity that semester to bring up your academics so that you're meeting SAP. And if you do meet SAP at the end of that semester, you'll go right back up here to meet SAP. However, if you're not meeting SAP, I will show you what will happen in this spectrum of statuses. But I do want to let you know that under the warning status, you are eligible for aid. There's nothing you need to do except focus on your studies. That may mean that under the Federal Work Study Program, you might need to reduce your hours a little bit to give you more time to focus on your studies, seek out tutoring. But just so you know, you will be able to work under the Federal Work Study Program while you're under the warning status. Now, let's say under the warning semester, you still don't meet academic progress, and then the second semester, you're not meeting academic progress, you will fall under the not meet SAP. And at this point, you will not be eligible for aid. We will let your supervisor know that you're not meeting eligibility requirements and that you're not going to be able to work. Now, if you submit an appeal, which all students who are not meeting SAP generally have the opportunity to submit an appeal to let us know what the circumstances were surrounding why they were not able to meet SAP standards. The committee meets, I believe, pretty frequently, weekly, and I believe it's like a 2-week turnaround time to let you know if the appeal is approved. Then if the appeal is approved, you could work under the Federal Work Study Program, and we will let your supervisor know. But it is also good that you communicate this with your supervisor as well, because you want to make sure that you're not working too many hours because you need to focus on your studies. If your appeal is approved, like I said, you'll get your financial aid. You'll be able to continue working under the Federal Work Study Program. Now, let's say at the end of that second semester, you're still not meeting SAP. Then we would not be able, you'd fall down here, you would not be able to work under the Federal Work Study Program or receive financial aid. You would not be able to submit an appeal. You would have to continue your enrollment without financial aid. I know that this little section here says that you can submit an appeal, but this is for special circumstances when students have fallen too far below the standard that even one successful term is not going to get them back up to meet SAP. And so let's say in the future you fall into this category and you bring up your SAP status on your own and now you're meeting SAP, but then you fall out of SAP again. You won't go back down here. You actually start the whole process all over again and go back up to the warning period. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that you understood this policy because it is your responsibility to make sure that you're putting your studies first. You'll want to work under the Federal Work Study Program not to exceed your Federal Work Study amount, which is on your financial aid offer. So again, you want to make sure that you're using it every year. You may not use it in one semester, but by the end of that academic year, you want to make sure that you at least use some of the Federal Work Study Aid program. You'll want to work one Federal Work Study job at a time, but no more than 20 hours a week. And our Federal Work Study jobs, I get asked this a lot if they're off campus. They're not off campus. They are all on campus jobs. And Angie will show you how to filter for Federal Work Study jobs on the CareerLink. So this is what the screen looks like on your student portal. So I wanted to show you how you could measure your own progress. You will see here each of the standards, GPA, PACE, and maximum time frame. This student status is okay. The minimum GPA is noted here, 2.0. This is an undergraduate screen. Their cumulative GPA is 3.355, so they're doing great here. The PACE standard, as I said, is 67% minimum requirement. The student is completing 100%, and you can see here that the attempted units are 31, and they've completed 31. Some of you may have, like I said, transferable units. And so after the first semester, log into your student portal to check where your standard is at so you can get an idea of where you're starting off at in terms of the percentage. And then the third, maximum time frame. This one actually shows up a little differently than these other two. So the maximum units attempted allowed for this program is 180. So remember, I said that for undergraduate programs, it generally takes 120 units to meet degree requirements. You'll multiply that by 150%, which equals 180 total units. But this one shows you how many attempted units remain or that are allowed. This is not how many units you have, but how many remaining before you get to the 180. So just to recap, the SAP standards are looking at GPA, pace, and maximum time frame. And if you fall out of meeting these standards, you will see on the status failed here. If that happens, make sure you keep an eye on your email for the SAP communication. You will have an opportunity to appeal, but make sure that you're paying attention to the deadline. The window is very small. If you miss that window of appeal, you will not be able to appeal again later in the semester. You'd actually have to wait until the following semester to appeal and pay for classes for that semester out of pocket. As I said, we check the SAP standards at the end of fall after faculty has posted grades, at the end of spring, and if you're enrolled for summer, we can't check it for fall until we check your grades for summer. There is no federal work study available during summer, but I'm referring to at this point just checking satisfactory academic progress, okay? All right, so now you want to know, well, where can I find these jobs? Well, you can find the jobs posted on the CareerLink. There's also a fair that's going to be available August 18th this week. It's in person on campus, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Make sure that you're copying your financial aid award or that you have it on your phone and ready to show it to the prospective employer. Make sure that you are enrolled in at least 6 units because they'll want to see your enrollment as well. If you happen to not see a job for a department that you're interested in working at, just contact the department directly and let them know that you've been offered federal work study and you want to know if they have any jobs available. Most departments do make their job announcements available on CareerLink. So especially post-pandemic, I doubt that you will not see something that you're interested in a certain department, but just in case, feel free to contact the department directly. And then sometimes our office will send an email to let you know that there's a job opportunity. So like I said, you may want to forward your student email account because that's where we're emailing to an account that you check more frequently. All right, so now you want to know when can you start working. So students are allowed by law to work on August 22nd, which is the first day of classes, but no sooner. Okay, that includes training. The last day of the academic year you can work is May 13th, which is the last day of finals next year. You can work anytime between these two dates as long as you're enrolled for fall and spring semester. I do want to note that in the future, if you're going to take a leave for spring and you have federal work study and you're working in the fall, the last day you could work is the last day of finals for fall semester. Since you won't be enrolled in the following spring semester, you won't be able to work after that last day under this federal work study program. Okay, so providing that all your paperwork is complete with payroll, that's a really important factor, you'll be able to start working on these days. All right, so now I'm going to hand it over to Ileana.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eliana Campos, and I am a payroll technician for Payroll Services. Thank you so much for being here today. As mentioned before, federal work study is offered in subsequent years only if you worked federal work study in the previous years. In other words, please use it or you can lose it for the next year, and we would hate for that to happen. Now, moving on to the new hire process. All new hires must sign in with payroll within 3 days from their start date. You will need to complete the new hiring paperwork on DocuSign, print it out, bring it with you to our office, which is located in Brotman Hall 344. You can find the link by clicking here. And your hiring department should also be emailing you the link after they offered you the job. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. No appointments are needed, just walk in. You will also need to present your original I-9 documents and Social Security card. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at payroll@csulb.edu if you have questions about the hiring paperwork or the I-9 requirement. We cannot stress this enough that your studies come first. Please remember that you are limited to 20 hours a week. That includes all stateside campus positions, such as if you're working as a TA, a GA, ISA, and SA. It's a combination of all of those for the maximum of 20 hours. Please also remember to keep track of your hours and your earnings. Now, if you have any questions regarding your work concerns or things like that, please contact your supervisor. You may also contact your college or your department service managers. Their titles are ASMs. Now, how do you get paid? Please work with your supervisor to complete and submit your timesheet. You will get paid once a month around the 15th of the following month. We encourage you to sign up for direct deposit. Please note that financial aid direct deposit is different than the payroll direct deposit, so please sign up for both. The form will be part of your hiring paperwork. Payroll direct deposit can take 1 to 2 pay periods to be set up. So in the meantime, you'll receive an email when your paycheck is ready to be picked up at cashiers, which is located on the first floor of Brotman Hall. And just to let you know, once Rebecca emails you this webinar, you could also click here. There's a link for the direct deposit. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at payroll@csulb.edu, or you can also call us at 562-985-4164. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ileana. Now we're going to transition this over to the Career Development Center. Angie, who's the counselor with the Career Development Center. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Angie.
Rebecca. Hi, everyone. My name is Angie Carrillo Humphreys, and I'm a career counselor at the Career Development Center. And the Career Development Center provides assistance not just with the work study jobs, but other jobs and internships. We also help you with preparing for your resume and interviews, as well as help you and provide support to those of you who are kind of undecided about a major. But let's get started today on what are the benefits of working. So first of all, the great thing about working on campus, and in particular CSULB, is that the positions on campus allow for a flexible work schedule, which means a lot of these employers are flexible in terms of helping you work around maybe exam times or final exam week. So it's a great way to not feel that pressure to have to work when you have a lot of exams coming up. So the important thing, I think, as Eliana shared, was talk to your supervisor about your scheduling needs. Also, as you begin to work on campus, you're going to be able to develop or even strengthen any kind of skills that are highly valued by future employers. So some of those skills include your ability to manage your time, right? Being able to balance school and work, your studies, and maybe even other activities that you decide to commit to. You'll also be part of a team, so you'll learn how to work with others, how to communicate with others, and how to coordinate work with others as well. A bigger part of going to school and going to work also allows you to strengthen your planning and organizational skills, because those are a lot of things to have to juggle. But again, there's deadlines for work and there's deadlines for school. So that's going to be a very important skill that you can apply not just in this work environment, but in future jobs as well. Initiative is also really important. Initiative allows you to grow in the position that you are working in, and allows you to ask for more work, when you're not busy, in the office. So it's always, initiative is a highly valued skill as well by future employers, as well as, as I mentioned, the importance of communicating with others. You won't only be communicating with your supervisor, but you'll be communicating with your other teammates, You may be communicating with the director of that department. You'll also be communicating with other students who come into the office, as well as also other faculty and staff, and even community members. So you'll get a chance to meet a lot of people whom we serve in those departments. Now, what's really important, we always talk about, especially in business, the importance of networking, getting to know other people in other fields, and in particular, maybe other fields of interest that you might have. So as you get to experience the work environment, don't limit yourself to only talking to your supervisor and or your teammates, right? Try to get to know other people, because other people have other sources of information that can help you develop your career as well. The other thing that's really important is to know that references are really important. What do we mean by references? Well, future employers, when you're applying for another job, that employer will want to connect with your current employer to find out what type of employee you are. And that's when an employer will ask for references from you. So someone who can speak well about your work and the type of employee that you were. So I always say, even if you don't like the work that you're doing, always do the best work that you can, because that future employer will want to speak to one of your references. You can also get the opportunity, depending on the department that you work for, you'll be able to maybe experience other career options as well. So if you work for the Career Development Center, you'll get to meet people who are in the field of education, like career counselors. You'll be able to meet some of our program coordinators who organize events and activities. You'll be able to meet some of the managers also, and even our financial people who deal with accounting as well. So it gives you a chance to explore other career options. And of course, when you work on campus, you always feel like a sense of community. A lot of people really enjoy their experience here at CSULB. And it makes you feel like you're really a part of our team and you're really involved in our campus. So where can you find these work study positions? So a great place to look for these opportunities are on CareerLink, and CareerLink you can find on your single sign-on portal as well. So you go to single sign-on, you click on that CareerLink chiclet, and then you'll be able to access the information. So once you do that, you'll see this web page. This is the CareerLink homepage, and I want to mention a few things first. Highlighted in green, just in the black area there, gives you information on how to schedule an appointment. If you ever want to meet with a career counselor, you can always schedule an appointment through Beach Connect, which is also available through single sign-on as well. It's another one of those chiclets. Just under that, highlighted in red, as I mentioned, we provide assistance with resume writing. So you'll find information on webinars, and you'll want to attend some of our webinars on how to prepare a resume. You will also want to have your resume reviewed by someone in our office as well. And then once you feel really good about your resume, you can upload it into the system so you can start applying for jobs. If you have a draft already created, definitely we can help you update that as well. And if you've already posted one, you can always remove that and update that one as well. Now up at the top, highlighted in yellow, are the jobs. So you want to click on that jobs link, and then you'll notice the position type highlighted in blue. You'll want to click on that, and it opens up the window down below. This is where you will be able to select that work study position, and you can see there's other job options as well for future reference. You'll click on the apply button, and that'll create the settings for you. You'll click on search, and it'll pull up opportunities such as the one that you see right here. Of course, this just lists 9 opportunities, and this was done back in late July. So there's a lot more opportunities posted as well. You'll notice here, if I select the guest relations tour guide position, if I click on that, oh, one more thing before I forget to mention, highlighted in yellow up above, you can create this job alert if you like the list of opportunities that were created for you, so that you don't have to reset these settings, and it'll automatically update you on a weekly basis of new opportunities that get posted. Now, when we click on that job title, you'll find a description of the desired class levels. You'll see that they're looking for anyone who's a freshman to a post-baccalaureate undergraduate. It'll highlight specific skills that they desire you to have, not require you to have. So if you have some of these skills, make sure they're highlighted in your resume and/or cover letters. There's also a description of that position provided for you. along with the position requirements. And these are really important for you to review so that you have a complete application. It shows that you must be enrolled in at least 6 units, good academic standing with a cumulative GPA of 2.7 or higher. It asks that you demonstrate CSULB pride, have strong communication skills, interpersonal skills, work with diverse populations, and several other items there. So again, if you have these qualifications, make sure it's clearly stated in your resume in some format. Also, to the right-hand side, you'll see the application deadline. So again, make sure that you submit that application by that deadline date. So more information that you will find on that page is the time commitment. You can see for this position, they're looking for someone to work at least 10 hours a week. And again, we expect that you work no more than 20 hours a week so that you can be successful in your academic classes as well. You'll see the salary is $15 an hour. This employer does ask for a UOSR application. They want you to include a cover letter, a fall class schedule, and a copy of your detailed work study award or information. And it is open until filled. So more than likely they tend to hire throughout the year. If you have any questions, so for example, the big question would be, how do I get access to that application? Definitely you will contact Linda Williams. You have an email there. Email her, let her know that you're interested in this position, and she can provide you with the application. Sometimes there is a link attached to the site so that you can access that application. But if it's not, definitely contact the person listed there. And then you'll notice that they provide training in August, and they tend to hire for positions both for fall and spring. All right, I just mentioned some of these items that they request that you submit. And on our website, you can upload your resume, you can upload an application, a cover letter, your fall work study. You just want to make a screenshot of those and upload them as a document onto our site so that you can send it directly to them, or just follow the employer's direction. Okay, I mentioned the important dates. Sometimes people will say, oh, well, it was posted in June, maybe I shouldn't apply. That was so long ago. Well, I would encourage you to go ahead and still apply. And if you're concerned that it might be filled, go ahead and contact the employer. When you decide to apply, there will be an apply button there that you will click on so that you can submit any documents that that employer is requesting. So you'll see a reminder of what to submit, a place where you can upload or select the documents you want to forward. And then, of course, you click on submit to apply. I also want to quickly highlight the Career Development Center website, which Rebecca mentioned earlier. We've got lots of amazing information, especially if you can't come into our office, you have a really busy schedule, but you can get lots of great information that we tend to share through our appointments as well. But today, our website is careers.csulb.edu. So make sure to jot that down or take a picture of this page so that you have access to that information. One thing I do want to highlight today is you'll notice on the left hand side towards the bottom highlighted in red, we have a link to resumes and cover letters. So I recommend that you go ahead and click on that so that you can use some of those samples to update your resume or create your first resume and or cover letter. One final thing that I want to recommend also is when you click on resources above instead of jobs, we were on the jobs link. Now we're moving to the resources link. So jot that one down too. So you click on resources, and then down below, you'll find information on our drop-in advising hours. And we also have some in-person hours as well to review your resume and cover letter. And that's where we can provide you with feedback or answer any quick questions that you might have as well. So take advantage of that service. And then we have another event coming up where you will be able to interact in person with department representatives who have work study and student assistant and several other types of positions that are available on campus. So that's all I'll say for this event. And I think Rebecca will have a few more details to speak about this.
Hi, Angie. Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to let students know regarding this fair. This is happening just once this year, and so you want to take advantage of it. Keep in mind that, as Angie said, there's different types of jobs. Not all of them are going to be federal work study. The campus has so many different types of positions like student assistant, instructional student assistant. So you want to make sure that you're letting prospective employers know that you are a federal work study student. That kind of rings a bell in their ear. They really like that. It's a beneficial program for employers as well. So if we can make that connection, especially during this fair, that would be amazing. So if there's any way you can go, I highly encourage you to take advantage of it. If you can't go, as Angie said, you can find the jobs on CareerLink. Resources for federal work study. These are the days and times our office is open. Keep in mind that our windows and in-person is closed from 12 to 1 for lunch. We do still have the phones available between that time, but you wouldn't be able to see somebody in person. We do offer a one-stop shop called Beach Central. These are located in Brotman Hall of the campus. Beach Central has different areas all centralized in one section or one location. So you can always talk to not just financial aid, but we have counselors there for registration and records, admissions, residency. So please take advantage of those time slots. There's also resources here from the Career Development and Human Resources Payroll in case you have any questions. You can contact them directly. All right, so now we're going to get into the questions. And Angie, I know I saw a question in here. I didn't want to answer it because I was waiting for you. It had to do with, let me see if I can find it. It had to do with the pay. If, like, how do they find out if the jobs, are they all the same pay or are some of them paid different hourly wages?
Yeah,
Oh, I
so,
found it. I found it.
okay,
Is the hourly pay different for all the jobs?
right. So it can vary. But typically most of the employers on campus will post what the pay rate is.
Yeah, and I think most entry-level jobs start off at that $15 an hour, but there are some others that are more than entry level that will pay more. And so it depends. And I know a few years ago we had this question, somebody wanted to negotiate the hourly pay. So if you want to do that, that's something you'd want to talk to the supervisor about. Just keep in mind the more hours you're working, if you have a higher pay, you're going to use up your federal work study award quicker. So whatever the hourly rate is, make sure that you're keeping track of that and the amount of hours you're working so you can keep track of how much of your federal work study allocation you're using. Once you get close to that total dollar amount on your financial aid offer, you want to make sure you're communicating with your supervisor so that they know, there's a limit there as to how many hours you can work. If anybody else has any other questions, let's see, what's the minimum hours someone can work in general? What's the lowest it goes? The minimum hours. So I'm not sure exactly. I'm answering this from a perspective of a financial aid administrator. So for us, if you want to be awarded federal work study in the subsequent years, it doesn't matter as long as you use at least an hour of it. But if you're asking what the minimum number of hours are that employers hire for, I don't know. I've seen some hires for 5 hours a week. Angie, I don't know if you can provide more input on this question.
Yeah, I would say, so employers like to see a schedule of your classes so that they can determine what hours you are available and determine whether or not your hours meet their needs. I would say generally speaking, most employers will want to have at least 2-hour time slots. So it could be 2 hours 3 times a week, right? Or 2 hours 2 times a week, right? But minimum per day, I would say ideally it would be a 2-hour gap or time at work. So again, like we said earlier, you want to make sure you can work no more than 20 hours per week.
Great. Thank you, Angie. There was a question, I thought it was a good point that I didn't cover on this presentation, which is how to find your SAP screen. So you will find most things when you log into your student portal and you go to the Student Center. When you go into the Student Center, you're going to see 3 sections. One of them is academics, the other is financial aid, and the other is I think they call it personal, but basically it just has like your name and address. So in the financial aid section, you're going to see links to do different functions. To look for your SAP, look for a box that says Other, and it has a little pull down menu. When you go in there, you're going to see SAP for financial aid. When you click on that, it's going to pull up your progress. For new students, you're not going to be able to see it right now or even during the fall semester. It won't show up until we run SAP at the end of fall after faculty has posted all the grades. So don't try to find it right now, you won't see it. But at the end of fall, then you'll be able to see your progress. If you have any questions about it, like let's say you're a transfer student, you want to know, well, how many cumulative units are you guys counting in this metric? Feel free to either schedule an appointment or attend one of our drop-in sessions through Beach Central. Okay. So there's a question here about resumes. I have 2 resumes, one that I completed with the teaching program that was revised to fit teaching jobs. The other general includes work I did as part of federal work study. Which one should I use?
So I'll go ahead and take that question. So, I mean, that's great. You're doing what we always recommend is to tailor your resume to each position that you're applying for. So if you're applying for, I guess like a TA position, right, a teacher assistant position, then your teaching one would work really well. If you're applying more for an office kind of position, then you want to make sure that you use the one that might highlight more of your planning and organizational skills, right? Office skills, those kinds of experiences. So again, tailor your resume to the position.
Thank you, Angie. What is the earliest time that jobs start? So providing your paperwork is complete with payroll. The earliest you can start working is August 22nd. That's the first day of fall classes. Um, and then there's another question here, which I think will kind of help clear things up with how federal work study is offered and using the award. So the question is, how much of the federal work study award is available? And can we get the award amount at the end of the semester as well? So the award for federal work study that's offered to you on your financial aid offer is the allocation or the amount that you can earn up to. So let's say you find a job and it's paying $15 an hour. You want to keep track of those hours because they're coming off of that federal work study award. And as you earn money, you'll be able to see on your portal that distribution coming out of that federal work study allocation. So don't think of it as something where you're earning federal work study funds and then at the end of the semester you're going to get that federal work study award. As Ileana mentioned, payroll is once a month, and so you will earn your pay every month, and I believe it's the 15th of every month. And so just keep track of that so that you know how much money you have left to work, especially if you want to spread it out through the entire academic year. So great question. Thank you. Any other questions? see what we've already answered. And if you've already secured a job and you're going to be starting August 22nd, but you're not sure if it's federal work study, contact your supervisor and ask them, because you want to make sure you're using that award. And, I would hate for you to find out at the end of the year that you didn't use it. So if you don't use it again, we wouldn't consider you for it in the subsequent years. Okay. All right, I think that's it for the questions. I want to just mention there was one question in our last session that was about working on campus federal work study plus working an off-campus job. Now, I know most students don't want to do an off-campus job because it's hard to work with the school schedule or your class schedule. Some employers, they just want you there and they can't work around your class schedule. But if you find that you are going to still work off campus and you're going to use your federal work study, make sure that you're not putting your work ahead of your studies. It is permissible to do that while federal work study is not available off campus. It's only on campus if you happen to find a job working somewhere else. Just make sure that if you see your studies being affected by it, that you reduce your work hours, whether it's the off-campus job work hours or your federal work study on-campus job. Okay, great. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending this webinar today. Again, if you have any questions, I will go ahead and go back to this slide that has the resources and contact information in case you want to take a snapshot of this. We will be sending the recording out, fingers crossed, by the end of this week, but it may not be until early next week. And we'll send the PowerPoint out as well so that you have, access to all of these links. If you're not sure how to use your student portal, just do a search online for CSULB using my CSULB, and you will see different options on the topics, whether it's admissions or registration or federal work or financial aid, excuse me, and then it'll show you the step-by-step snapshots on where to go and what to do. And last thing, please make sure that you're signing up for 2 different direct deposits when you're working federal work study. You want to do the one that Eliana was talking about, and also the e-refund for financial aid. Okay, they're 2 different links for federal works or for signing up for direct deposit. If you don't sign up for direct deposit, for financial aid funds, you will get a paper check, but it can take up to 2 weeks after we release the funds to receive that paper check. If you have any questions about it, you can contact us or you can contact the cashier's office. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you with the direct deposit. And with that, I will let you go. Thank you again for attending. Good luck and welcome to the beach.